a little more, get a nice and throw a couple topics in there.
Yeah.
Gets them out.
This is definitely not going to be a record-setting sort of speech.
No, and tonight's game decides our fantasy football league too. I'm ahead right now by 2 points. I got a field goal kicker versus their quarterback, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, that's true there. I ain't thought of that.
Which the Bears have the worst defense in this state. They give it the most points to the whole team. I haven't changed. Jay Cutler's a dumpster fire half the time. He throws a couple pick sixes.
Some of the passes can look as pretty as.
You want me to say all this?
Others look like floating doves.
As this January 15th. Fix the microphone.
Sometimes I
Want everyone to hear it.
confidence against teammates too. Like some of them, sometimes they go up faster too. It's like they just.
Are they back in the table? Is that where they're at?
One of them's out. I think Marshall's out. He's out right now. But they replaced him with that. He's good. 6'4" wide receiver. They are. But there's a crowd.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. For those of you who have not been here before, we do ask that everyone find a seat. We ask for security purposes that everyone be seated. So if there are some of you standing in the wings, we ask that you do find a chair to sit down. There's still plenty of seats up front here. So I will call the meeting to order at this time and ask everyone to please rise. We will have a Pledge of Allegiance and prayer led by Becky Ehlers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity for us to gather here tonight. Guide and direct this council as we consider issues that come before this city and are for the benefit of this community. Amen.
Thank you, Councilman. Before we call roll call, I would like to let everyone know that I understand that we do not have video, or we have video, we do not have audio. So unfortunately, what you say will not be broadcast, but you will be seen. So again, Bob, could you, I believe there's someone standing up over in this room. Could you check on that, please? Oh, okay. Someone was standing up. Thank you. Okay. Roll call.
Ehlers.
Here.
Heaton.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Evans. Here. Meadows. Here. Beach.
Here.
Hurt.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to welcome everybody here tonight. What a great crowd. We've almost got every seat full, so we got a wide variety of topics, and I appreciate everyone being here and being interested in city government this evening. At this time, we'll have the hearing of the citizens' comments. We have 3 listed items, and then we'll open it up to the floor. The way this will work is the people that are listed, I will call, for instance, Tony Brown Warren will be the first speaker this evening. Because she is listed, she'll have 8 minutes to make a presentation. And if there's anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on that topic, they also may come to the podium and sign in and state their name. Then we'll move on to the next subject and whoever would like to speak on that subject. So we'll get started. And the first person is Tawny Brown Warren, and she's here to speak to us about the concerned citizens for the better community. Oh, and by the way, the audio's back on, Tawny. Right. So, okay.
Don't start my 8 minutes yet.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Not till the first word starts.
Okay. To the Honorable Mayor Thatcher, City Council staff, community members, I'm proud I'm Tony Brown Ward. I'm proud to be born and bred in Boonville. After 20 years away from my hometown, serving on several successful campaigns from our state representative Paul Sombart to our former Governor Matt Blunt. I moved back to Boonville in 2012, and now I'm serving here with my colleagues in the audience as the new president of the CCBC. When I spoke to Mayor Thatcher about addressing her and the council, my initial intention was to give a presentation similar to what many of you guys have heard before. However, after reading through some of my grandfather's old notes, he kept copious notes. In fact, I think he was a pack rat a little bit. From his 20 years in the council, in conjunction with the needs expressed by our membership, motivated my thoughts toward a different direction. The CCBC remains humbled and appreciative of the community support shown by our fellow Boonvillians, which includes the individual actions of many of our county and public officials, county and city officials, in addition to our local businesses. Their investment legitimizes the CCBC's mission to serve our members, residents of the east side of Boonville, and the community at large. Unfortunately for this dialogue, I must make a distinction between the support shown by our community and the support shown by our city lawmakers. My fellow CCBC members keep abreast with all the decisions made by the city representatives. We see a consistent investment in the YMCA, where public funds were earmarked for the kitchen expansion, renovations of the buildings on the former grounds of Kemper Military School. For instance, a replacement of a roof of a building we have yet to know what we're going to do with. However, the only real emphasis on the economic, historical, and cultural importance of the CCBC has been made by our members. Furthermore, the only really noticeable addition to the east side of Boonville is a dog park where animal feces is allowed to be collected. And not only is this appalling, knowing the rich heritage of the east side of Boonville, knowing that famous entertainers like Tina Turner and James Brown perform there, it possesses several environmental and health concerns that we have due to the proven adverse effect of bacteria in the dog feces having on groundwater. The CCBC founders, members, served this community decades before the YMCA. In fact, the CCBC was the first location of the YMCA. While the CCBC building may not be older than Kemper, unlike Kemper, it is in use by the community. We are renovating it on our own, and we are moving toward its full use by the community. We have no intent and have no intent of saying, take from somebody else and give it to us. No. Because we understand that each organization has a unique and valuable purpose. However, fair is fair and right is right. And the CCBC has a unique and valuable purpose and mission as well. Understand, we mean no disrespect, but the obligation of the city to the east side of the Boonville goes beyond the mayor's house. Like my mother, who lives right on the next city block, she should not have to wait over a week for the city to respond to a pipe that was broken. That was the city's responsibility. Invest her own $1,000 in the repair of the water damage that was coming into her home. She should not have to do that. While on the next block, that same pipe that was causing that same type of repair was fixed. It was fixed from what all our reports are at no cost. I am confident that none of you would allow dilapidated and vacant homes adversely affecting your property value to remain without protest. Therefore, expect no different from us. Public service like my grandfather Richard Brown and Irvin Drew, Van Work, Larry Rolls, Paul Sombart, and Bud Kemp worked together on different sides of the aisle to ensure that this city served its residents equally. That is a legacy upon which we stand and should work together to promote and protect. As the CCBC continues to grow and expand, community residents and visitors have already taken notice of the difference between the city's importance placed on the CCBC and the east side of Boonville in comparison to other parts of the city. Therefore, while my statements may not impact you now, I'm confident they will impact you later. And, you know, my grandfather always taught me to be very, very respectful of the political process. And as you can tell, I'm just a little bit confident myself. As 2015 and 2016 approaches, making the end of some of your terms of office, myself along with my Vice President, Corey Wright, find the opportunity to represent our community brethren all the more crucial and worthwhile. So no matter if we win or lose, I guarantee you the energy that we put forth will not disappoint. I will leave you with one of my favorite quotes from my grandfather. You can judge the integrity of a community by how it treats its most vulnerable. We are and have been Boonville's most vulnerable. Our community brethren have shown their integrity. The time has now come for those chosen and paid to represent us in the city, in the city, lawmakers, and the mayor's office to follow suit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tawny. You were well within your 8 minutes.
Thank you.
You were 7 minutes.
All right.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak regarding the CCBC? Just for the record, I would like to note that Kemper Military School and the YMCA buildings are owned by the city. The CCBC building is not owned by the city. So that's why we're putting roofs on those buildings, because we own those buildings and we do not own the CCBC building. So, and I would like to talk to you about a couple of the other things. So I would love to have a dialogue, and then if any of the councilmen would like to sit in on it, I would like that a lot. You're doing a lot of good things, and I appreciate it, Tawny. So is there anyone else that would like to speak regarding this topic? No? Okay. Next up is Chris Amsbury, who has some comments on pit bulls. Chris? And here again, Chris will have 8 minutes. Anyone following him that wants to make comments will only have 5 minutes. Chris, if you would sign in. Have you signed in already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council, Madam Mayor, and citizens of Boonville. Thank you for giving us, Voices of the Park, a chance to speak with you regarding a request to repeal Boonville's breed-specific ordinance, or otherwise known as the BSO law, banning pit bulls of any kind, and a revision of the vicious dog ordinance. BSL targets all dogs of one breed, the innocent as well as the guilty. It also removes the responsibility of dogs owners and toward the dog itself. Dogs take their instructions from owners and handlers, big or little, that is who gives the order. Through our research and recent discussions with people in the community, we have found out that the lack of factual information and knowledge, as well as interaction with pit bulls, has resulted in a misunderstanding and misplaced fear of the breed. We are here to give you facts as to why the BSL is wrong for Boonville. It is also as simple as you, as council members, want our community to grow and prosper and bring in a diverse group of businesses and citizens to live here. We as citizens want to live here, but also want to be able to choose what kind of dog we want to have or choose to have. There are missed opportunities for this community to grow because of this ban. They choose to have moved places that do not have bans and on a dog that is every other dog. When we refer to pit bulls, you are actually grouping a large amount of dogs into one breed, and the ordinance of the wording of any dog which has an appearance or characteristics of being predominantly of the Staffordshire Terrier Bull Terrier. American Pit Bull, American Staffordshire Terrier, or a combined of any of these breeds. If you are following these ordinances, there shouldn't be any kind of terrier or dog in this town as those would fit in this ordinance because they have appearances of what is known as a pit bull. As you can tell, identification can be difficult. The physical traits, the characteristics shared by pit bulls are also shared by approximately 25 other breeds that are not typically classified as bully breed dogs. Obviously, this causes a great difficulty in identification and allows for discriminatory and subjective actions by our animal control officers. The truth is, the media centralizes everything and we do not get the whole story. Just the highlights, and the public takes that as a whole story does not look any further. They do not know that the kid that was bitten had been antagonizing the dog for the past 6 months, poking at it with a stick, etc. It is an excuse. No, but it is more of the story that would give a different view of the dog and why the kid was bit. Number 4, the myth about pit bulls being born mean or dangerous is actually very opposite. They are a breed that was created to be especially gentle with people. Poor breeding, bad training, or irresponsible owners of upbringing, this can cause them to be mean. Pit bulls also do not have lockjaw. Their jaw is the same as every other dog's. There has not been any test that confirm that the claims of the bite PSI with any reliability. And one of the biggest concerns of the community is dog bites. There is a higher rate of dog bites nationwide by pit bulls, but there are literally hundreds of thousands of pit bulls in the U.S. alone. So of course there will be more statistics and reports of dog bites. The truth is, any dog, regardless of its breed, is only as dangerous as the owner allows it to be. Do you remember Pete on the Little Rascals? Yeah, he was a pit bull. He was around children all the time. Pit bulls are commonly used as therapy dogs, as well as used in search and rescue work. They serve as narcotics and bomb-sniffing dogs. There are the same dogs that are in our community continue to punish without crime. Just because of their heritage, they happen to be born pit bulls. In the 1980s, pit bulls were used on farms for herding. Parents also trusted them to watch their children at home. While they were in the field, that is what they were called. That is where they got the name nanny dogs from. Helen Keller, the President Theodore Roosevelt, also both had pit bulls. These dogs protected our soldiers in combat, and they protect our streets from good just the same as they were trying to fight. A dog is a dog, no more or less, but treated with love, respect, given rules, and guidance, it becomes a loyal, loving companion. The American Temperament Testing Society tests the temperament of all breeds dogs. Testing focusing on the measures of different aspects of their temperament, such as stability, shyness, aggressiveness, friendliness, and as well as instincts for protectiveness toward its handler or self-preservation if it faces a threat. The test simulates a walk through a park in a neighborhood where everyday life situations are encountered, visual, audio, tactical stimuli, as well as neutral, friendly, and threatening situations happen. All of this is to call into play and the dog's ability to distinguish between non-threatening situations and those calling for watchful protective reactions. Here are just a few of the brief specific bands that are in our city right now. American Pit Bull is 86.8%. American Stafford Terrier is 84.5%. A Beagle is 80%. Border Collies are 81.5%. A Chihuahua is 69.8%. A Golden Retriever, 85.2%. And topped only by the Pit Bull is a Labrador Retriever at 92%. Thank you.
Did anyone have any questions for Chris from the council? Okay. Thank you very much. If there's anyone else that would like to speak on the pit bull issue, please come to the podium. And we do ask that you state your name and sign the
I
register.
have already signed.
Okay,
Thank
if you would state your name, please.
And I went ahead and I typed it out, so I didn't miss anything.
Would you please state your name for the
My name,
record?
I will. You will meet various professional people who own pit bulls tonight. My name is Linda Grant, and I'm a retired medical transcriptionist. My family are professional people, each with college degrees. My family resides in Boonville and outside of Boonville, and we have 2 pits, so-called 2 pits. My group is a 5-member party called Saving Dogs of Missouri, and we have saved lives of over 1,076 dogs in this year alone since January. And they're out of kill shelters, including labeled pits. We cross-post through email, Facebook. We do vetting, transport, raise sponsorship money for emergencies, whatever the call takes just to save the life of a dog, because we believe all dogs deserve a chance. 3 members of my group own pits. I work with Pam Paxson, Boonville Animal Control, in trying to make Boonville a no-kill facility. All the dogs in the Boonville shelter whom do not get adopted through Pam Paxson goes to rescue through me. There is a lot of time and effort on my part in saving the money from the city from euthanasia of unwanted dogs. One such case is a 3-legged pitty, and her name was Autumn. She was such a great pit, so-called pit, out of Boonville, but she was labeled a pit. She went to rescue, and she had 2 fosters begging to foster her because she was just such a great dog. And she went through rescue. She did not deserve to have to leave Boonville because it was a BSL town. She should have had every right to be able to live here. And 1 out of every 600 so-called pits do not make it out of facilities. That's how many there is out in the United States. Most of these mixed breeds never had a chance at life and were killed because they looked like a pit. Okay, I have a question. Is there anybody here who owns a dog on the council? Thank you. Okay, one of the myths is, of course, the lockjaw with a 2,000-pound capacity. I've heard this for a long time, that pits have it, which is false. Also, they're only used by drug dealers. That's what a lot of people refer to, and that's false. And here's a good statistic. A fat-headed dog is automatically labeled a pit. It's impossible to call it a pit without DNA testing. Less than 1% of a dog's genes determines its appearance. When you look at a dog and see the breed, you only see 50 genes out of 20,000 genes to make up that appearance. These 50 genes are different from thousands of genes that deal with even the brain development and the function. So a dog cannot be labeled a specific breed by its looks or behavior. And also, if it has a sibling from the same mom and the same dad, can have a different temperament, being with 20,000 genes, okay? Again, we have educated people who live in and around Boonville who own pits. Pits are not just a breed for drug dealers. These dogs are loyal, great family companions owned by various people of all nationalities. I hope that Boonville will get rid of the BSL law against pits, because pits are not the problem. Bad ownership of all dogs need to be held accountable. If Boonville gets rid of a pit, that bad owner will say, what the heck, I'll just go get me another one. It doesn't matter. This is just one way BSL fails. It's another way society fails. It does not hold man accountable for his actions. Please do away with the BSL law in Boonville and get rid of all the discriminating factors. All dogs are equal and should not be treated as such under the BSL law. Punish the owner, not the dog. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else want to make a comment this evening? Please step to the podium.
I have a poster I'd like to put up.
Okay.
Where I put it.
That would be fine. If you want to, we could have someone just hold the. Okay. If you would please state your name.
My name is Catherine Ward. I live in Fayette, Missouri. I started a pit bull rescue in 2009 after Fayette passed the pit bull ban. And my rescue is ARFMO. Our mission is to promote public safety through education about responsible pet care as an alternative to banning breeds of dogs. We mostly rescue pit bulls that are on death row at local dog pounds because these dogs have no other option than to go to rescue because they are deemed vicious just because of their looks. We have rescued and rehomed over 140 dogs labeled as pit bulls since pretty much 2010. I feel I do have a say in Boonville's ordinance as my phone rings whenever a pit bull comes into your dog pound. The statistics are available about BSL, and part of what is frustrating to me is there is no way to say what needs to be heard in a few minutes. And actually, I have another one. I have brought a book that has pictures of my death row pit bulls from Boonville. These are dogs that your animal control officer labeled as pit bulls. And I want you to know, it's not against Pam, it's a very daunting task that you have set her with. This poster is pictures of dogs that are purebred dogs, and they are the best representation of breeders of their dogs. There's only one dog on this poster that is a pit bull. I would like you all to try to figure out which one it is, because that's what you're asking Pam to do whenever a dog comes in.
Catherine, if you could speak into the microphone so that people at home can hear this also.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So this dog is Sparkplug. He came from your dog pound. He's Yorkshire Terrier, Labrador Retriever, Border Collie, and Dachshund. He has no pit bull in him. This is Ivy. She lives in Kansas City with a woman. She's been rehomed. Sweetie Pie, her family lives in Roachport, and the woman that owns her wanted to come tonight, but her husband is out of town and she couldn't. This is Brutus. I did DNA testing on Brutus. He's a Belgian Tervuren Basenji Beagle. He is a bulldog, Siberian Husky, but a bulldog is not a pit bull. So no pit bull in this dog. But he was on death row to die for being a pit bull. This is Vixen. She's a much-loved family member. Lives with children. A very good family dog. Rosie, rehomed. Bella. Jersey. Buddy. Derby. Derby is mostly poodle. Wow. He's also got a little bit of pit bull in him, about 10%. He also has Australian cattle dog, and then Boxer Bulldog and Staffordshire Bull Terrier, which is the Spuds McKenzie dog. But you can see he has a big chest, and he's apricot color like a poodle. This is Derby graduating obedience school at PetSmart with his cap on. And this is just a very nice picture of Derby smiling. This is Puff Daddy. I didn't name him, he came with that name from your dog pound. And this is Holly. Holly is still looking for a home. Puff Daddy was homed with a vet tech in Columbia. We also have owner surrendered pit bulls from Boonville. These are dogs that have been living in hiding, and the owners don't like breaking the law, and they have surrendered their dogs to me, and the dogs are in foster home outside of Boonville because we are not lawbreakers, we're law-abiding citizens. Brooks and Zoe, Alf. He was named Alf because he doesn't like cats, but he loves people. And then we have abused pit bulls that my rescue has taken in. Aspen came from Highway 87 right up the road here. She was shot in the mouth. She had 2 fractures to her jaw. And the entry wound was here. So my vet thinks that someone tried to kill her by shooting through her brain, but that she probably flinched and the bullet came out the front of her mouth. This is Aspen last week at PetSmart. She's available for adoption, and she's a very sweet dog.
Catherine, you have 30 seconds left.
This is Sire. He was from Highway 87. Yoda, shot in the mouth. Otis, living in hiding due to BSL. That's not a way. It creates an unsocialized dog, which is wrong. That can cause dog aggression. 2 dead puppies from Jeff City that were abuse case. This dog was shot in the face. He only has 1 eye now. This dog was bonked on the head with something. I have a whole book of DNA testing of some of my other dogs that are not from Boonville. You cannot look at a mixed breed dog and tell its heritage. You cannot do it. The data is out there. I urge you all to please look at the data and come to a decision about this. You're killing lots of innocent dogs. And it's unfair to the people that are responsible pet owners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So which one is the pit bull?
Well, why don't you guys tell me what you think?
Well, I guess.
I know it's not number 12.
Steve wants to
12 is a
guess.
lot, so that's, I know it's not
And
number
11 is a
12.
coon dog or hound dog. And that if it's number 11.
Anybody want to take a stab at it?
18.
7 or 14?
22.
I can't see well.
I can't see
No,
that
it's not
closely.
15.
Actually, 16 is the only pit bull on there.
16.
Yeah, let everybody else see it.
So 18, I believe, is Old English Bulldog. 22 is an Alano Espanol, which is a Spanish dog.
What's number 15 there?
15 is a Cane Corso. I can leave my poster here. If you'd like to look at it more. It's pretty educational. It's a good poster.
McKinsey.
I like old number 12 there.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind leaving it, maybe we could leave it in City Hall or something. Yeah, I'd like
Well,
to see it.
actually, if you guys want me to leave it after, like, for you to look at after the meeting, I can
Okay.
do it. Can I leave my DNA for you to look at?
Your book?
Chris?
Your DNA.
Yeah, just the book, please. Thank you, Catherine. Anyone else like to make a comment at this time?
I would like to thank them for
Sure.
the Washington printing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you put your address on the,
Sure. And I think
so-
Chris would be more
and phone
happy to-
number? Okay.
I work here, my name is Leslie Allen,
Okay.
and I work here in a place in town where we give doggy treats at a drive-through. And I am not going to point anybody out, I'm not going to say anything bad about anybody, but there are pit bulls out there that I give treats to every day. First thing I ask is, do they bite? And they say no. I give this one a treat, and he's like a horse trying to get that treat with his lips. He will not bring his teeth out in any way. I have a friend that does not live here in town. He has a pit bull. And his way of vocalizing is, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." And he'll come up and rub on you and try to sit on you like he's a lap dog. I've been studying dog therapy massage, and I've learned that any dog can be brought up to be mean. And any way you treat the dog mean, the dog's going to come back at you. You respect that dog like you would your neighbor, that dog is going to be fine. And that's all I've got to say.
Okay, thank you, Leslie.
My name is Lisa Green. My husband said there's no way that I could come here and not speak, so don't want to prove him wrong. I actually don't have anything written down. I was invited by Linda Grant to come tonight. I have done my own personal rescue for about 14 years. My husband and I have rehomed about 108 and 109 dogs in 14 years. My husband and I have 14 or 15 at home right now, I think, from Chihuahuas to Pit Bulls, to had St. Bernards. I have a whole plethora of children and dogs, actually. I actually just wanted to step up and just real briefly, not necessarily talk about the integrity of dogs, but the integrity of the people who are actually here to speak on their behalf. I work with several of these ladies. I say ladies because there's a lot of ladies in the rescue business. I'm sure there's some gentlemen too. I just don't work with very many. I happen to think that each individual dog speaks for itself. I don't have a preference on a breed of dog. I think dogs are a lot like people. How we're raised makes a difference on how we act when we're adults. And to be quite honest with you, like I said, I don't have a preference. I have a preference on the way dogs are brought up. I discipline my dogs like my children. They have rules. They each have a bed. They have to sleep in their beds. We have discipline and rules. If I didn't, I couldn't maintain 14 in my home because it would be complete chaos. And actually, my dogs listens better than my children do. So anyway, I didn't have a specific agenda to bring up here, but like I said, what I want to speak on is the integrity of the people who are here to come to you tonight. Myself included, the people who do rescue, we spend thousands of dollars of our own money every year. I take time away from my children, sometimes time away from my job, time away from my husband. I have 3 foster children and 2 children. I can't always take them with me. They go on transports with me and so on and so forth. And those of us who do this work, we do it from the heart. It is not a money-making proposition by any means. So, you know, for us to take our time, and you all also, to come and listen, time away from your families and your homes, and dinner and bedtime and bath time, I appreciate that. And I mostly appreciate everything that all of these people do. So, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Anyone else like to speak? I would say we are limited on time this evening, so maybe if we could limit it to maybe 1 or 2 more speakers. I know everyone would like to say something, but perhaps you could send an email to your councilman.
Yes, my name's Dennis Platt, and I have a large dog. He's a Mastiff and a Rottweiler. He looks vicious, but he's a sweetheart. But he gets a bad rep because of the way he looks, and that ain't right. And before I got here, I was at a friend's house. Some people teased his dog. You know, but the dog didn't act out on me. But I feel for what's going to happen to the dog, because look what this dog done to me. Well, somebody had teased this dog today. It wasn't a dog. It was because somebody teased this dog. You know, the dog can't tell his story. Maybe he could, I'm sure he would, you know. That's all I have.
Okay.
And I ain't mad at the dog. I'd like to see the person that teased the dog.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. You might want to have that looked at. It doesn't look too good.
He's had his shot.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I play with this big dog all the time.
Oh, okay.
He gets a little rough. You know, he's a good dog.
Maybe one more speaker.
Good evening, Council. My name is Melody Whitworth. I'm a state representative for an organization, Dogs Deserve Better. We are actually an anti-chaining and penning organization. We rescue backyard dogs from chained and penned situations. Those include many dogs that are labeled pit bulls. Many dogs have come from Boonville. Dogs have been chained in garages, hidden in backyards to try to be protected because of the BSL ban in Boonville. Push comes to shove, and as Kathy Ward stated, people do like to follow the law. They're law-abiding citizens, so they reach out to rescue groups to try to help save their family pet. Most of these dogs, none of these dogs actually that I have taken in from Boonville have ever caused any harm to anyone or any other animal. They're simply labeled a pit bull. And what you are doing, again, as Kathy Ward mentioned, you are putting Pam in a very precarious situation by having to stand there and look at the structure of a dog and possibly the temperament of a dog and giving it a death sentence. That in turn is just a roller coaster ride for the rescue community, and it's a financial burden. We do all do this from our heart, but it's also a financial burden. We work 24/7 to raise our own dollars that we spend on these animals. We do outreach, we try to educate. Again, we do follow the laws. We actually work hard to get laws passed. I was responsible for an anti-chaining ordinance in Columbia. I was responsible for Hallsville recently lifting the ban in Hallsville after speaking to the mayor and showing her some of the statistics that you have right in front of you. So I implore you to read the information, take it seriously, realize that many communities that have put BSL on the books did this because they thought it was a quick fix. It would get rid of some of the undesirables in the community, so to speak. It doesn't work. It prevents really good families from living in your community. It forces people to become criminals when they're not, only because they have a certain breed dog. So I just wanted to speak and say that there's many of us that don't live in Boonville that are definitely and directly affected by the ban that you have put on the dogs in the community. So again, I just ask you to read all of the information that was presented, take it seriously. There's a lot of statistics out there. Many communities are lifting the bans, and thank you for your time, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Melody. I know there's two more people that want to speak, and come ahead.
Hi, I'm David Rucker. I'm kind of nervous here.
That's okay.
I just want y'all to know, shit, I can't even talk. Pardon me. In reference to Leslie Allen back here, she does work in a place where they give dogs treats. And first and foremost, I am disabled. Been a truck driver for 32 years. Just got disabled this year, and I have a service dog. I have back injuries. I have a pacemaker. I shouldn't say this, but my heart only works at 15%. I do own a Staffordshire Terrier. You know, and I've been trying to, you know, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I pay my taxes. I live here in your community. But I have a service dog from my doctors, my attorneys. And I really feel that this BSL law that has been placed upon the dogs denies them the right to social interact with people, children, and does not allow people to get to know the type of breed that these animals are. I've had my dog, actually her name is Little Mama, and I've had her since she was like 8 weeks old. She rode around in my truck with me for 2.5 years. Met a lot of people. Never bit one person. Never raised a lip to nobody. Ever. And I have her because I have busted disc in my back. And I live in an upstairs apartment. And she knows she's been trained to work with me. To, if I go up the stairs and I fall down or something like that, she helps me get up. Because my heart only works at 15%, I get out of wind real easy. You know, it's because of the BSL laws that are forced here in Boonville, I am forced to make a decision because I can't take my dog out, go out and socially interact with the community. I used to go to therapy in Stover, Missouri. My dog, I had been asked down there to bring her in and see the old people because she is so friendly. She would never hurt anybody. You know, I kind of make a light joke about it. It's not my dog you got to worry about, it's me. But, you know, but that's not necessarily true. But I just want y'all to know that with this law and because I don't want to cause any ruckus in your community here. I've only been in your community 1.5 years. I just got my pacemaker in May of this year, and I was forced to move here. Not because I wanted to. It's not because I don't like Boonville. It's because I worked out of Boonville. I don't have the money. I'm on disability. You know, I can't afford the money to move. And there's a lot of places that don't allow those types of dogs. You know, but you can take any dog, whether it be with any elderly person that's had a dog for, say, 5-6 years. Matter of fact, I spoke with a lady today, and I'm not going to shut her out. She has a little Jack Terrier. And she told me that he will bite. He'll bite quicker than a big dog will. And she's had this dog for an extra 7-8 years. What's the difference between what I have and what I have? If I put my hand to that dog's mouth to go and pet it, and that owner is sitting right there, and that dog takes off the end of my finger, isn't it not just the responsibility of the owner to say, hey, my dog will bite? Or will it be too late after I figure out my finger's gone?
David, you've got 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
That's all right.
But I just want you all to know that, look, I don't have the money to move out of your community, and I'm asking you guys to please consider all the issues here before you and take a look at the options, because I don't feel that it's fair for my dog to have to go outside and come back in, because if I want to take her anywhere, I have to take her to the country to run. And I don't have the gas to do that. But with that being said, folks, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, and I sure hope that you all will reconsider the BSL law, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to each and every one of you.
Thank you, David.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think we have one more lady on the aisle. Did you want to speak?
Can I ask a question? Sir, is your service dog a pet bull?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, and I have documentation for that.
Hi, my name is Kiki Stark. I live in Columbia, Missouri, but this issue affects me very dearly. I work with Linda Grant and Melody and Kathy in trying to rehome dogs through Saving Dogs of Missouri, which is the organization that Linda mentioned. And this is something I do 24/7, day and night, and have done for the last 5 years at a kind of high personal expense, but that's my option and that's my choice and that's what I want to do. I really applaud everyone who's spoken up and tried to enlighten you all. tonight and helped you to understand what we're up against and how we feel about these animals. I'd just like to highlight a couple of things. When Chris was talking about the ATTS, which is the American Temperance Testing Society, when he talked about them testing all the different breeds of dogs and how they came out temperamentally, they tested over 30,000 dogs through May of 2011. And there were, in that period of time, 83% of these dogs passed the temperament test as he described. And you wonder how the pit bulls did. They showed an above average temperament with 86% of those dogs passing the temperament test, and that was second only to golden retrievers. I think that's an important point to make. Also, breed-specific legislation, BSL doesn't work, and that's been proven. And I just want to read this to you really quickly. These laws have been proven ineffective for the rather obvious reason that they fundamentally misdiagnose the cause of serious dog bites, focusing on breeds rather than the interactions of dogs and humans. There are numerous studies showing that BSL laws don't result in any decrease whatsoever in serious dog bites. According to the ASPCA, there is no evidence that breed-specific laws, which are costly and difficult to enforce, make communities safer for people or companion animals. For example, Prince George County, Maryland, spends more than $250 annually to enforce its ban on pit bulls. In 2003, a study conducted by the county on the ban's effectiveness noted that, quote, public safety is not improved as a result of the ban, and that there is, quote, no transgression committed by owner or animal that is not covered by another non-specific portion of the American Control Code, i.e. vicious animal, nuisance animal leash laws. And the term breed-specific legislation is also inaccurate, as Kathy described to you, because you cannot pick a pit bull out of the picture, as you've learned tonight. You can't ban these dogs because you can't identify these dogs. That's a real issue here. And the last point I want to make is that breed-specific legislation goes way beyond any proposed ineffectiveness at reducing serious dog bites. All BSL laws, even those that stop short of outright bans, result in beloved family pets with no history of behavioral problems being destroyed, as you've heard tonight. If rescues hadn't stepped in and saved these dogs that Kathy was telling you about, they would all be in a trash bag in a dump somewhere. And the last thing I want to say is that I think it's important. You have the potential to deal with a problem here if you have a vicious dog. What you need to use is your dangerous dog ordinances, strengthen them, get professional people on those panels to make that determination. A veterinarian, an animal behaviorist or trainer, these are the people that can identify the dogs that have problems and help you deal effectively with them without creating more problems for dogs that deserve to have loving and forever homes. And so I'd like to leave you with the thought to please ban the deed and not the breed. Thank you.
As a final gesture, if you are here about the dog ordinance, would you just please raise your hand so we know how many of you are here about that? Okay, thank you very much. And I would like to state, Pam Paxton, our animal control officer, is here. I don't see her. There she is. And she has throat problems, so it's very hard for her to talk. But she did want to let everyone know that as the animal control officer for the City of Boonville, she will do whatever the city ordinances tell her to do. And so determination will be made by this body as to where we go from here. So thank you all for coming tonight. You're welcome to stay if you want, but you certainly don't have to. So anyway, so with that, we'll move along to the Katy Bridge Coalition Quarterly Report, and I believe Sarah Gallagher is here to give that report.
I'm going to write my address on that. Did somebody take the... Take the form? Okay, everybody knows who I am, so I don't guess I need to sign in, so it'll turn up eventually. First of all, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year coming up. And I'm Sarah Gallagher, and I'm president of the Katy Bridge Coalition. I want to thank you all for giving us an opportunity to give you a report tonight on the coalition's progress. I want to apologize for not being here last month. There was just a miscommunication, and we just didn't know we were supposed to be here. We like to give our presentations and reports on the second meeting of the month, mainly because our board has had a chance to meet in between that, and so it makes it convenient for us to give our report on the second meeting of the month. Okay, first of all, most importantly, just to report about the tax credits. The last report we had from Kate, as of about a week ago, was that we still had $27,500 in tax credits to sell, which that actually turns out to be, somebody that does good math, $54,000, $55,000, let's say, to be raised to satisfy the tax credit obligation to the state of Missouri. After contacting the state, we met with Earl and Kate about the possibility of obtaining an extension should we need it. The Missouri Finance Board advised us that the request has to be generated from the city, since the city made the original application, and Kate advised she would work with our staff person, Karen Rete, that would draft a request for Earl's approval, and it is my understanding that this has been submitted. Is that correct? So this has been submitted, the request for a one-year extension. We hope it doesn't take a year, but it does allow us to move into next year should we need to do that. We do have a Plan B in place, and if that happens to be what we need to do, I'll detail that on the next report. We are still working. We have till December 31st is the final deadline for this year, obviously, for people to utilize these tax credits for this year's taxes. And we're still hoping that we will not need the extension, but we thought it was better to hedge our bets, as they say at the casino. So anyway, first of all, we want to thank everyone on the council and also in the community that's purchased these tax credits up to now. We really appreciate the support, and it does, I mean, this is a community project. It may take a while, but it is going to happen. Let's see. We have some contacts. Several local corporations whose names I cannot mention right now have contacted us for meetings for tax credits and also large donations. So we will be meeting with them throughout this week and next week. Our board members are continuing to call tax credit prospects that we have on several lists that we have out with. Each board member has a list of people that they're contacting. So hopefully we'll have a good update for you in the January meeting. As far as outreach is concerned, we will be on KFRU tomorrow morning, on Simon Rose, Darwin Heineman, Mike Dennehy, myself. Mike Dennehy, who is, as you know, from Peddler's Jamboree, has been a good friend of us on this project, and we're working on some things for next year that will involve him, that we will kind of expand our wine walk situation. I'll talk about that in a minute. We confirmed today also that we will be appearing on Paul Pepper in January and also on KBIA. Our social media continues to gain steam. We've now got all the email addresses we've collected over the years on paper and business cards and whatever are now on a database, which is much more available to us and workable to us in that form. We are adding, and this is in the events category, we are adding a new element to our 6th annual wine walk. We have advisors that are working with us on this project, and we would like to add a biking event. I think we've kind of settled maybe on the name KD80. But anyway, I think that could be something that we could build on in the future to tie in with our bridge when it is operational. But for right now, I think people are going to be interested. And as maybe work begins on phase 1 this next year, this will be something that we can generate interest with people who are actually going to be the users of our project. We have submitted several grant proposals to assist us in the marketing and promotion of these opportunities in both St. Louis and Kansas City. We are also looking at some events for the coming year, still in the planning stages. In January, we'll be joining with the Isle of Capri for a dine-in fundraiser there, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. 2 additional events are being planned, and the details will be available next month, probably at our January report, or whatever our next quarterly report will be. We have a good opportunity to meet with potential large donor group in St. Louis, and next week, and again after the first of the year. So we're hopeful that that will produce a rather large sum of money. We think it will. We received memorial donations in memory of Jim Shannon. As you know, Paula Shannon's husband passed away in November, and we have good memorial donations from that, and they're very much appreciated. We also received a sizable donation from a foundation in KC, and as you remember, we successfully completed the Kickstarter campaign, and those funds are now in place in our bank account. So, anybody have any questions or comments or anything that I don't want to take up my whole 5 minutes?
Any questions?
Anybody have anything?
Morris?
Yeah.
Sarah, would it be possible for the council to get a copy of the audit showing us what money that you have raised so far and your expenditures and stuff?
Well, I'll have to talk to my treasurer about that. Ken, would you like to speak to that at this point? We are a 501c3, and we are a private corporation, so I'm not sure.
You're coming to the city, for our support, and we've got a right to know what income has been brought in and what expenditures.
My flippant response would be, it's none of your business.
Except
And
we're the
you can't
guarantor.
You can't get it because we're private. We're raising money separately from the city, and we're doing it to support your project, not our project. We were there to support it, but we're raising money to support the bridge that you own. So the money that we have, we report it to you every time we come, but I don't know that we're in a position where we can provide you with an audit of funds which are privately held. We're not asking you for any money. So we're here to report to you what progress we're making raising money for your project, but...
Well, I really disagree. It's our
I
project.
expect you probably do, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's y'all's project that the city more or less was given, but we passed it on to y'all.
I appreciate it.
And we're trying to figure out, is it a worthwhile project or not?
I think you already made that. I think you already made the decision that it's a worthwhile project. Now the only question is, can we raise the money over some period of time to fulfill it? And if you want an honest answer, we're looking at a 10-year project. Now, does that make everybody happy? I don't know if it does, but to raise the sort of money that you want to raise privately, then it's going to take that long a period of time because we're raising it in 10, 15s, and $25,000 at a time, unless we find someone with a deep pocket who wants to give us $1 million or $2 million. I don't see that happening. And since the Congress has outlawed earmarks, we don't have a way to get our representatives or senators to put an earmark in, which was a possibility 5 years ago to earmark monies for a significant expenditure on this particular project.
And let me just add something to that, which I feel very deeply about, because I've been at this for a long time, as has Paula Shannon, as has almost everyone on our board. Board members die in our group. They don't quit. So we are fully committed to this project. We have been through 10 years of trying to acquire the bridge and get it to where we could raise funds for that purpose. That's one thing. The second thing is we have the money in place for phase 1 and we haven't seen a shovel turn yet. That's not our fault. When you're raising money for blue sky, which is what really anybody who knows the jargon of the trades, it's blue sky. Nobody's seen a shovel turn. Nobody's seen one thing happen yet.
And yet we know it's happening because we meet with the city, they tell us it's this, it's at UP, it's at MoDOT, it's gonna be there, it's gonna happen. And so that part of it, the physical part of it, is the same drag part of it that the fundraising is. And when you're going out and talking to people about something that you can't even see, and you're showing them a picture, and you're all rah-rah about it, it is not that easy to raise money. And these tax credits aren't that easy either. Because not only does the person have to purchase tax credits, they have got to give money directly to the bridge. So not only do you have to find a person with money, you also have to find a person that believes in the bridge project. So that's kind of a niche market, really. And so what I'm saying is that we are still working at it. We are working at it as hard as we ever have. We've had some reorganization issues that we've had to take care of. We are now from a local to a larger corporate big donor market. We have to have, and we have created this year, significant marketing materials that appeal to, and anybody that works professionally knows, you're not going to be able to take a little Xeroxed brochure and take it to some great big corporation and expect to be held in high esteem when you're raising money. That's just not how that happens. But I will say that the board is as committed as it ever was. We have some new people that may be interested in being on the board this year with good contacts, and that's about as good as it gets, and we're still working as hard as we ever have. We're not going to let the city down. We have pledged to do this, and that's that.
Okay. And we'll provide you with our minutes that show the exact amount of money that we've raised, and it's sitting in the foundation. That's where we put all the money, except for we have a little checking account, and we have 3 savings accounts that are memorial savings accounts for people who died, and for whatever reason, they got set up in separate accounts, and they remain there because we haven't expended any of that. And we'll be happy to provide the minutes that show what we have taken in month at a time and what the expenditures are going to be. To be frank about it, our major expenditure at this point in time is what we pay for our media consultant on a monthly basis. And other than that, the only other real expenditures we have are for our wine walk, and the rest of us donate the money for the postage and all the rest of that stuff that comes along. So we don't really have much in the way of expenditures. And we could have seen this, but we took in about $23,000 on the Kickstarter, which met our goal of $20,000. So not that we're not wanting to be cooperative, and the minutes are there, and we'll be happy to provide them to you if you want to read through them. Dick Blank creates them, and I give them the minutes and the figures, and you can have those. I just want to reiterate and emphasize again what Sarah said. We are now past making money on a wine walk. We're looking at millions of dollars now, not $5,000s of dollars. And so our efforts have turned to major fundraisers with major donors, and we're hoping in January to see a real turn in where we are on the St. Louis side. And if we're successful there, that means we're going to be successful on the Kansas City side because the impetus will be there and the pressure will be there. But in reality, this will be a long-term venture. And to be frank about it, this bridge has been there a long time and hasn't fallen down, and nobody's going to remove it. And it will remain there until we come up with the monies to make sure that it's fully functional all the way across and tie into the other side of the trail. So, Morris, I appreciate your question, and the answer is, I said it was flippant my answer, we can provide that information to you. It won't be any surprise because it's not huge amounts of money at the present time.
And I appreciate that you came back and you said that, Ken, because as it turns out in the contracts, the city ends up, if I've got this language correct, the city ends up being the guarantor. And so we have a vested interest. So
I know you have a vested interest, and that's why I say
yes,
we'd be happy to do it. In fact, I think what would be the best thing is we'll just ask Dick when he sends out the minutes to make sure that a copy comes to Kate, and then Kate will have it because she's our point person, with the city. And then that's information that she thinks that she needs to put in your packets on a monthly basis. You'll get our minutes that says, whatever we did from the last meeting to that meeting, and give you an idea of where we are from an expenditure and income standpoint.
Would that
but
suffice?
We're excited, though.
Would that suffice, Morris?
We're excited. We really think it's going to happen. It's just, you know, you just have to allow it to play out a little bit and see if those folks who really have the sort of checkbooks that we're looking at want to make those contributions.
It's not an easy time to fundraise. There are a lot of people fundraising.
Yeah, everybody is, and for
So
very worthwhile
it's
things.
difficult.
Yeah, and a bridge is different than putting food in a kid's backpack. Okay, and or any of those things that we all give our monies to when we see the Santa Claus ring the bells. You know, those are just real issues, and we just sort of compete as we go along. But we're talking about a different sort of group of people who have different interests, and I think we provided earlier at one of our meetings the naming rights sort of suggestions that we had for those who make large donations. And if you don't have that, I'll make sure that Kate gets it so that we can pass it out to you, because everything on that bridge is subject to having a name put on it if you give a certain amount of money.
And I want to add just one more thing. Didn't mean to get upset about the whole thing. However, there is a lot of work that goes into this, and all of the people that work on our board volunteer their time. People are not getting paid to do the work. We have Karen Rete who does work for us, but I put in many hours myself. And we do this because we believe in the project. So it's not like I said, that we're going to let anybody down or that we're going to quit or that something's going to happen, because this is our city too, and we believe in it, and we believe in this project for the city. It is for the city that we're doing this. So, thank you.
Just, Noah had one more comment or question?
Yeah, a little bit of both. And I respect everything you both just said, and that's great. I think from my perspective, what I want to convey to you is that everything you said is great, and I respect that, and I know the hard work that you're going through. I think where I would come from is that we're ultimately responsible for the bridge. We're ultimately responsible for the project. You have entered into an agreement with us to carry out your duties, and I think you guys are doing a great job at that. With that said, somebody once said that great speech where he said, "Trust but verify." So I think where I get a lot of concern from is that you come in and you make a report and it sounds good, but the analyst in me is more of a kind of a person that likes to see something that says, here's our goal, here's when we're hoping to reach our goals. And it doesn't have to be the big goal. I mean, like Ken said, it's a 10-year project. You could give us little goals, and then as you meet them, then we can celebrate those successes with you. But to me, it's a matter of making sure that we continue on track with our goals, and make sure that we do finish the finish line, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. And I think ultimately that's our responsibility. And so whatever you can share with us that kind of completes what I just said, whatever can complete that action, to make me feel like you've set a goal, you're working towards that goal, and here's when you think you're going to reach that goal. And if you fall short, that's not a bad thing. I know all about fundraising. I know that sometimes you fall short of your fundraising goal in 2014, but that doesn't mean in 2015 you won't exceed it 3 times what you thought. So that's not really the issue. It's just an issue of tracking your success along this journey. Does that make sense?
Certainly.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Ken. Okay, well, I believe we're at approval. Are there any other public comments that anyone would like to make? Seeing none, we will move along to approval of the minutes of the December 1st, 2014 council meeting. You've had those this weekend to look at. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing or hearing none, we will move along. Consent items, we have none this evening. Presentation of accounts and claims. Mary?
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Boonville as follows. Section 1. For the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the City of Boonville, which have been allowed by the Council at the regular meeting thereof on December 15, 2014, the sum of $804,924.64. General Fund, $467,130.65. Sanitation, $30,332.92. CIP tax, $23,711.84. Waterworks, $11,044.48. Capital projects, $58,727.50. Wastewater, $57,942.20. Tourism, $13,191.55. Gaming, $61,205.65. Parks Water, $81,637.85. Section 2, the bookkeeper is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $804,924.64, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on December 15, 2014, read for the second time this 15th day of December 2014, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mayor, I make a motion this be approved.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Second. Thank you. Roll call.
Ayers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Unfinished business, we have none this evening. New business, we have someone here this evening to discuss and consider hospital matters. And I will introduce Mike Conway, who's the chairman of the hospital board, and I will let you make introductions and other speakers from there.
Thank you all for your time. I think we got on this because we understood you had a light agenda tonight. Looks like
We knew
it didn't
you
get
would
too
be
light.
interested, yeah.
So, bottom line, we do appreciate you all giving us a little bit of time to talk to you of what I consider to be an economic development proposal from the hospital. Will be two primary speakers. I'm just sort of an intro speaker. But we'll have Larry Arthur with RCHA, and I'll try to go through that relationship a little bit with you before he speaks. And we'll also have Danny Gerhardt, who's the CEO at the hospital, who will be making the large portion of the proposal that we have for you tonight. But I did want to recognize that we do have a number of other board members here tonight. Curtis Carter is with the board. Paul Davis is with the board and also with the county commission. So he serves sort of a dual role with us. We have Dr. Drew Shoemaker, Nancy Frederick, Marlis Rainey, and I believe that's everyone from the hospital side. We have Larry Arthur to my left, and Trent Skaggs, Larry Arthur is the CEO for RCHA. Trent Skaggs is the COO for RCHA, and they've been putting a lot of driving time coming back and forth to join with us. But very briefly, if I can, I wanted to go through, just give you a little bit of an update, because back in June and July of 2013, many of you would have been part of our community forum presentations when we went out to the community and kind of explained the state of the hospital and that we really weren't in very good shape, and that we really, it was kind of the use it or lose it community forum where we were trying to communicate to folks it's very important that we use our hospital in order for us to be successful. And I think that forum went well, but after that forum, the board quickly came to a determination that we need to be partnered with some bigger entity, okay? So we went out with a set of proposals, customer proposals. We actually had 3 responses, and one would have been with the University of Missouri, the other one was with Boone Hospital Center, and then the third was with RCHA. And quite frankly, if you would have gone around the board, our thought process initially was, quite frankly, it makes sense that the university and Boone, those are probably going to be the logical links to the organization. And I'm not here to say anything negative about Boone or the university, but again, if I would have looked at this from an interest standpoint early on, I guess I would have had my eyes open before I even got started. So the interest of Boone and the university, and quite fairly to them, is that we would be more of a outpatient clinic without an emergency room. We would basically be a feeder organization to their facility. Now there's nothing wrong with that, okay? I mean, from the standpoint that we can be that. That's really not the vision that the board has of the type of hospital that we'd like to have for the community. So certainly the type of hospital we'd like to have for the community is a hospital that continues to provide acute care admissions, That would not have been a possibility with Boone or the university. A hospital that continues to provide emergency care to our community. A hospital that provides surgery to our community. So we want to be, as much as we can, a full-service hospital, along with all the outpatient services that we provide. That vision, there was only one organization that shared that vision with us, and that was RCHA. RCHA does a management as a management company as well as an ownership company. It's a very large company. I'll let Larry Arthur speak to what it consists of, but they give us the big picture, if you will, and the big brother as far as how we go about approaching and setting up our hospital for success. And we've done very well, and I'm going to let them speak to that as far as the progress that we've made from January of 2014 to now. I think has been outstanding. We feel we have a roadmap of how to proceed. We're not here talking to you about how you can help us survive, because we believe we will survive. We are here asking you for help in providing a service which we think is important to us and important to the community, and that's getting our surgery center up and going. So without saying any more on that, I think I've made my brief comments. I'm going to go ahead and bring this to Larry, who you'll appreciate is a very knowledgeable man on healthcare in general, and can tell you a little bit about our interrelationship with CCMH.
Thank you, Mike. I know you've had a long day already, and hopefully I won't extend it too much, I promise. First of all, RCHA is a management company, as Mike mentioned. We have 13 hospitals across roughly 5 states. We have 5 hospitals in Oklahoma, 3 in Kansas, 2 in Missouri, 1 in Tennessee, and 2 in North Carolina. My background is I have 35 years of healthcare experience in running hospitals, and as Mike mentioned, essentially we came to the same consensus that the board did, and that is that a town like Boonville really needs to maintain their hospital. There are 5,000 hospitals in the U.S. right now. About 2,800 of those are in the city. About 2,200 of them are in rural areas. The ones in rural areas are somewhat become an endangered species from the standpoint that with all the disruption that's going on in healthcare right now, due to the national reorganization through the Accountable Care Act, hospitals are having to fight and struggle to make sure that they maintain their base of business. Part of this presentation is a continuation of a presentation we made at the Cooper County County Commissioners meeting, where we basically laid out that in order for a hospital such as Boonville to succeed in the future, we really need to be in a position to grow certain services. Surgery services is one of the services we really need to grow. And just from the standpoint that the way that the reimbursement system in the U.S. works through Medicare and Medicaid and commercial insurers, hospitals that are able to take care of patients that seek surgery services at their local hospitals basically are able to pay the bills a little better than the ones that aren't. And this hospital's gone through a period where it had surgery wind down, and now we're trying to start it back up, and that's part of the request tonight, is to ask for assistance from the city, just as we did from the county, and the county did approve the assistance for part of the equipment. But we'd like to see if the city could assist with us on an economic development issue for the hospital. I can tell you that I've been through 2 communities, 3 communities that have lost their hospitals, and 2 of them were lucky enough to get them re-going again after they had lost them, but not without some consequences. The hospital just down the road here, 37 miles from you all in Sweet Springs, had a hospital from 1961 to 1991. That hospital closed in 1991, and at the time they had 5 physicians in Sweet Springs, and they had a number of different businesses. After that hospital closed, they lost 15 businesses and 5 doctors. They were basically without a doctor when the new hospital started back up. There's now 4 doctors back into that community along with a couple mid-level practitioners. But that's something that was a window of opportunity that existed in the early 2000s, and it would not exist again today to try to restart a hospital. So we're trying to do everything in conjunction with the board to make sure that this hospital stays strong and vibrant. And I agree with Mike, it's not a question of survival any longer. It's a question of whether or not we can continue to incrementally grow to provide services here. You don't want to backslide and have it go the other way. But we think this is a good opportunity for the community from an economic standpoint. The hospital provides over 80 jobs in the community, and they're fairly high-paying jobs. We wouldn't want to lose those. For the Missouri Hospital Association says that for every hospital job there is in a community, there's 3 other jobs that are supported by that hospital job. So we want to continue what we have here and grow, be successful in the long run, and hopefully provide a great service to the community. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have before I turn it over to Danny Gerhardt.
Ned?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Ladies before gentlemen.
I was just interested in knowing, are there other services besides the surgery service that you're thinking of expanding or creating?
That will come as we grow back core services. You know, basically the hospital in its relationship with several of the hospitals in Columbia had gone through a period where some of those services started to go out of the community, but now they're starting to come back. I think the physicians and the providers here are great supporters of the hospital. I think we're going to be trying to recruit some additional providers back into the community, and so we'll continue to grow those services in different specialties, and surgery will be one of them. We'll be able to bring specialists back to the community as we grow that service.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Timeline.
We're ready to go on actually getting surgery open again, and it's this equipment that's basically at this point the only roadblock that stops us from opening. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of equipment do you need?
It's related to scopes, towers, just general kinds of surgery equipment that goes to staff an OR, that goes in to equip an OR.
Okay, well, they were doing surgery before, general surgery, so what happened?
Some of that equipment,
there?
I'll let Danny speak to that,
Okay.
but it is outdated, and again, in order to maintain state-of-the-art type of service, we need to be able to upgrade that equipment.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Bottom line, I know there for a few years you were losing about $2 million a year.
Mhm.
Is that better now?
Yes, we've stabilized operations.
So you're at,
We actually made a profit last
oh,
month,
really? Good.
heading in the right direction. Yes, sir.
Which, yeah, I was looking at your slide here, and if if you're grossing in October 14, you grossed 2 million, you netted 164,000. Why do you need money from us if you're now making money? Can you not secure grants or loans on your own to secure the equipment?
Yeah,
Because the equipment only totals, if I'm not mistaken, what, 3.25?
Right. The reason is that essentially the hospital is not back to the point where it's fully creditworthy to be able to borrow on its own. If that's what we were able to do at this point, we would pursue that through a lease or so forth. But the financial institutions we've talked to have said that they either want a credit backstop by a governmental agency or else we provide the money ourselves. It's just the lending environment that exists right now.
Okay. Becky?
I know Susan kind of led into and asked about, additional services and stuff. I want to be a little more specific. Is there any talk about adding an urgent care? Because I know I attended a couple of those local meetings, and at every meeting, the need and the wants for urgent care came up, and I continue to have individuals ask me about progress there.
And I can understand that, and there is usually an interest and a demand for that. I'll let Danny address that from an operational standpoint, but in essence, that is a balancing act that we have to worry about from the standpoint of duplicating our emergency room services. So in essence, we could add the same duplicate cost and end up with no more volume than we have, other than just shifting them into an urgent care setting. So we have to, and it's more of a financial consideration than it is actually an operational. If we had a way to fund it, we certainly would do urgent care, but essentially the reimbursement is not adequate to allow us to have a separate, distinct urgent care versus the emergency room at this point. And again, we're trying to maintain the financial stability of the hospital as we go along.
Morris?
Yes, sir.
I understood you say that the county has already approved part of this money.
That is correct.
Are you going to any other communities besides just Cooper County and Boonville? Or
No.
what about the other towns that's in Cooper County that you provide services for?
Essentially, that's where this is where the hospital is located. Even though patients may come from other areas, and we would welcome that, we would want that to help boost the service. Really, essentially, that's not an economic development aspect that you usually find that other communities would support this. The county is supporting it, and so we think they represent a number of other communities.
Larry, could you, for lack of any other term, flesh out a little bit what kind of surgery you're talking about? You're not talking about doing open heart surgery.
No. This is not major inpatient surgery for the most part. You know, all surgery today, I can remember when I was young in my career back in the late 70s, early 80s, I went to a hospital in Ohio one time. I was sitting there with the surgeon, and he said, you know, if we ever do more than 20% of the surgery in this hospital on an outpatient basis, we'll have patients dying in the streets. Well, nationally, the percentage is about 80% now is outpatient surgery. And so most of the surgery is going to be done on an outpatient basis. The high-end surgery that requires high specialty will still continue to go to Columbia. That the physicians are very concerned about the safety of their patient, and that will be the utmost concern when a selection is made related to where surgery will be done. But again, a lot of the surgery we're talking about can be done right here locally because it is outpatient.
And you have had pretty good success with, was it Sweet Springs that had
That's
a
very
pretty
good. We started about 4 months ago on that. We did 16 surgeries the first month, 19 surgeries the second month. We're up to 24 surgeries last month, and essentially we see that still growing. We ought to be able to do between 40 and 50 surgeries a month here, which is a good base of revenue and a good base of community support from patients. If they'll come here for those kinds of services, they normally support the local hospital for others.
Noah?
Yeah, do the cash flow projections on the back, do they represent with or without the surgical unit?
Those are with the surgery.
With the surgery unit?
That's correct.
Becky?
Yes, ma'am.
If you were to add the surgery aspect, how many more jobs do you think it would create?
Well, again, I don't know if I can quantify that right this minute, but as surgeries grow naturally, and I'll let Danny maybe address that a little more from an operational standpoint, we will add jobs as the services grow. And it doesn't just support surgery, it supports the laboratory, x-ray, a number of other areas that are ancillary to surgery that will grow jobs in those areas.
I have two. One is to clarify what you mentioned on the cash flow. This year one that you're on, you have on this chart, that's 2015?
It would be, yes. And let me just say one thing. That cash flow will help to support what's now occurring because of what's happening in the general economy with patients losing insurance, with patients losing jobs, and we've seen the indigent care, which is basically uninsured patients these days, grow from about 1.4 million last year to about 2.1 million this year. So we're having to absorb quite a bit more, and the only place we can do is add services that actually generate cash flow, such as surgery, to offset those.
And that cash flow is before debt payments.
That's correct.
Okay. Item 2.
Okay.
And you kind of slid into this, and you really didn't make it clear.
Okay,
But
I'd
it
be
sounded
happy
to
to
me
try to
as
make
if
it clear.
the alternatives you have on this 355,000, I think it is, that you're adding? Okay. That the alternatives
The
you have on there.
unfunded portion, though, that we're asking for is about $235,000. As I understand it, the county has committed to 125 of that 235.
Okay. My question is because of the comment that you made just a minute ago about the ability of the hospital to borrow. And the comment that you made was that, or at least the way I heard it, was that if there was a substantial enough guarantor, that you could borrow this money as opposed to having to take cash out of.
And let me just add one thing to that. We're somewhat limited by state statute on guarantees and that type of thing of what, like, for example, the county could do. They can make a loan to us, but in some respects, I don't know, we've had some legal research on how we could actually get the funds. This is anticipated from the city, I believe, as economic development. And so that's what we're seeking. And essentially, the county is talking about doing a 3-year interest-free loan, essentially. We'll pay it back over 3 years, but without interest.
The reason I ask that question is that it's extraordinarily sudden. Because of course, we haven't been involved in it. You've been working,
Right.
He's been working day to
Right,
day
sure.
with it. You know it's going to happen, and you know it's coming and all of that. This kind of hit us kind of like a
No,
sledgehammer.
I fully appreciate that.
And if there's a way to be able to meet the timeline without affecting the budget, because we only budget once a year, that has to be considered. And that's why I asked you the question, Larry. I'm not trying to
No, I
push you into
understand. I
a
understand. In
corner.
fact, we went to several lenders, Commerce Bank being one of them, but they basically said we need to have a backstop given the financial losses that the hospital has had recently. We would like to have a financial backstop if we're going to make a loan. So, the city wanted to sign on, and it just complicates it a little bit. This actually would show that I think that the city and the county both support the hospital economically. That will help us in the future with any type of financing that we'll do.
Noah?
I had 2 questions. One, whose projections are these?
Those are generated by our company.
Internal accounting?
These
department?
these are internally generated.
Okay, the second question I had was, did I just hear you correctly tell Ned that the county's $125,000 is going to be in the form of a payment to you that you're going to repay over 3 years with no interest?
That is correct. That's what I understand just recently from the meeting last week. I don't know if that's absolutely right. Maybe Mike or Danny can comment on that, but that's what I think I picked up in an email.
Okay.
Any other questions? Henry?
We asked for the money as a grant, but that's what they came back as.
Sure.
How confident are you that you're going to get doctors to come in here and do surgery?
We feel very confident that, again, we have a base of 3 that we'll start with, and then we'll basically grow from there. And that's the same way it's happened in Sweet Springs and a number of other facilities where we've restarted surgery.
Who are the surgeons that are coming, that would come?
I'll let Danny address
Okay.
that.
Any other questions for Larry before Danny makes her presentation?
I tried to make it brief, but you had good questions.
You did a good job.
Thank
Yes,
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay,
If you have any others, I'll be happy to come back.
thank you.
All right, I'm Danny Gerhardt, and the CEO at Cooper County Memorial Hospital, and Larry did a wonderful job in pretty much telling you the whole story, but I would be more than happy to answer those specifics. And I heard we were asking about which particular surgeons that we're going to have initially. We have Dr. Wolkowitz, who's a pain specialist. He is already seeing patients at the hospital, and he is very excited to go ahead and expand his services. We also have Dr. Michael Jones, who is an OB/GYN. I have to be very clear, though, he's looking to do gynecology procedures. He is already seeing patients and very excited to start doing surgery. We also have a podiatrist that is interested in doing surgical procedures there. We are also in discussions with an ENT, ear, nose, and throat, who is very interested in coming doing surgeries. And it's just the tip of my hat there. What's that? Cataracts, yes, cataracts. So those are two additional ones that we are currently in discussions, but we are also going to be recruiting for a general surgeon. So in my presentation, I don't want to go into too much detail. We have listed out several of our successes that we've experienced in this last year. I do want to compliment the team, has worked very hard and is very dedicated and has turned our operations around. As you correctly noted, we were on track to lose $2.5 million this year, and we have stopped that blood to a break-even basis. This, in getting surgery up and going, allows us to then start reinvesting in that capital, which healthcare has a healthy appetite for.
Is there a certain amount you're asking for?
The remaining portion that we have outstanding right now, as Larry was mentioning, we are financing over $100,000 in equipment. The county has topped out with their gift of $125,000. The remaining balance that we would need to secure is $110,000.
Okay. And do you have any other sources that you're looking to for that?
Not at this time.
Okay. Open it up for questions. Questions for Danny? Ned?
To you.
Sure.
If, in order for the $235,000 to work, does it all have to happen kaboom, or is this something that gets bled in?
An excellent question. We are already looking at what we're going to purchase with that additional $125,000. It certainly gets our start, but it doesn't allow us to continue with all three specialties that we're initially talking about.
And so you're looking for the $235,000 to happen yesterday?
As soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question, and I don't know if this is okay to ask. If it's not, you can tell me. What changes have you made in the billing practices to
streamline those?
Yes, for
Sure.
lack of a better way to put it.
Sure.
Yeah. What changes have you made that are making things better and stop the bleeding, so to speak?
2 years ago, we had a serious discrepancy with one of our major payers, and that started that free fall of financial issues. Mm-hmm. That has been resolved with that particular payer. However, we have implemented a new billing system. We have, as of September of this year, have outsourced our billing to RCHA, who have skilled expert billers with each payer that we have and know the intricacies of each one of those billers. Mm-hmm. And so we're seeing much quicker return on that.
What about the private pay people as far as that sort of billing?
Absolutely. An interesting fact that we have is that we receive, with our billing system, or billing processes in healthcare, we are only realizing 12 cents on the dollar for private care that we are giving out. We are being much more upfront with our patients. For those that are seeking treatment that is not required, such as emergency care, we are letting them know what that fee is up front and working with them to get upfront payments, much like every other organization, healthcare organization. Working with them much more proactively is a better way to put that.
Okay, thank you.
Just to kind of go back to the timeline question.
Sure.
When are you looking for an answer by? Because obviously this is tonight, and we'll probably have to have another meeting to discuss it if we wanted to do anything, and then have to get back to you. So what's in your mind, your timeline?
We truly appreciate the fact that you have a due diligence process that you must go through, and we know that's going to be 30 to 45 days before you can feel comfortable making a decision, and that's what we'll work with.
Okay. Any other questions?
I think just a bit of clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
The money coming from the county, is it a loan or is it a gift?
We are looking into that right now. As it stands, it is a loan over 3 years.
Okay.
And if I may, Becky, you had asked the question about urgent care. We're looking at expanded hours of our clinic, working within the means that we currently have. What we find is that individuals that have a need for health care don't necessarily need the level of an ER, but would like convenience after hours and weekends. So we're looking to see how we can do that with providers here locally.
That'd be appreciated.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
I think Mike wants to make, okay.
Let Paul make a comment, just that kind of rules.
Okay.
Probably have something. Appreciate it, if y'all give us a few more minutes.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Paul Davis. And as has been mentioned, I do wear two hats, as it were. I've been a member of the Board of Trustees of the hospital for nearly 7 years now. I also have been a Cooper County Commissioner, Eastern District, for nearly 6 years. Both of those are elected positions in Cooper County. And to clarify just a couple of points about what the county's commitment is, having the background of working with the hospital for the last 7 years, I have a real appreciation for the turnaround that we're seeing by RCHA. I personally am convinced that if it were not for their stewardship and guidance, we would probably be in a position of discontinuing hospital services at this point in time. We were down to a cash on hand days of 10 or 15 days, and a healthy cash days is like 90. So with RCHA's help, we're rebuilding that. They're really interested in growing the hospital, and obviously surgery is a critical part of that. So with that background, it was my recommendation to the Cooper County Commission that we appropriate or make available the funds that we could towards this surgical equipment investment. As it turns out, by state statute, the county is authorized to appropriate up to 5% of general revenues to the maintenance of a county hospital. $125,000 is exactly that. It's the maximum that Cooper County can provide to the hospital. 5% of our general revenue for 2014. It's already in this year's budget. So we're putting in the maximum dollars that's possible. On the question of whether it's going to be a loan or a grant, we have our attorney looking at that. We have the hospital's attorney also looking at that issue to see whether it's legal for the hospital to issue a note to the county. If it is legal, then the hospital, with the approval of the Board of Trustees, will issue a 3-year no-interest note, which will not be due until 3 years from inception. The county made this appropriation with the recognition that that loan may not be possible. If that is the case,
we are still coming through with $125,000, the maximum, and it'll be in the form of a grant. The reason we're asking for it to be a loan is that obviously if the hospital gets back on its feet, cash flow is good, they have the ability to repay, it would make sense that they would do that. So hopefully that clarifies a couple of questions there. Any questions for me? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, for that clarification. Mike, did you want to?
I'd be more than happy to answer any questions from a community standpoint. Have any? Certainly we have the experts here who assist if I don't know the answers to the questions, but if we've answered all your questions, I mean, I think this again is a very positive step for the community. When you talk economic development, when you're looking at economic development, again, you look at the types of jobs that a business has to offer. And I can't tell you that these are some of the better jobs that this town has to offer. So you have excellent jobs, you have people living in your community, you have those funds available. It's going to be a great driving force. I'm hoping you can see fit to assist us. We hope that we're not going to be coming back to the asking you to prime the pump all the time, but on this particular issue, we've made a lot of progress. This to me is one that we just need a little help to move this engine forward faster. We've done all the physical work we need to do to have that surgery up and going. This is the linchpin, or the holdback is getting the surgery equipment. And I think it's going to be a big positive step for the community. It's going to be a big positive step as far as the hospital is concerned, as far as moving us again from that just moving break-even proposition to start rebuilding some of our balances. So again, appreciate it. To be honest with you, I say if I would have gone back in January 2014, I thought maybe we'd be coming to you, but I thought we'd be coming to you more from a standpoint of we need this to get by. Quite frankly, I don't think this is a we need this to get by, but this is something we can use to move our agenda much quicker than as we think we need it to be. Can I answer any questions? And we do appreciate, it's been a long night, so appreciate y'all giving us your time.
Thank you very much, Mike. So what's the council's pleasure? Do you want the staff to look into what we are able to do legally, or someone, Noah?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I think Mike made an understatement when he talked about economic development. He was just talking about the hospital itself, but those of us that have sat through a lot of economic development meetings knows that a community with a hospital is a far better community in the economic development sense than one without. So absolutely, you know, if we can help them, we should. But I certainly would like to have staff look into all the different possibilities of different ways we can help them.
Okay. Very good. Any questions from you? Okay. Well, thank you all very much for coming this evening, and we appreciate it. It was a very good presentation, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Reports of standing committees. Item A, Special Housing Committee. Megan?
All right, are you ready for another about 10 minutes? I think that's all it's going to take.
Thanks again.
Thank you. A synopsis. Well, you all have had kind of the overview in your packet. I'm going to assume that you all have read that and kind of looked through it, and I'm going to highlight a few issues. Obviously, this community over the years has taken advantage of several of the traditional public nuisance types of enforcement activities with trash and weeds and debris and animals running at large, derelict vehicles on public right-of-ways and those kind of things. And for those of you who have been on the council for 3 or 4 years, we have in recent history rewritten some of our ordinances and focused on dangerous buildings, derelict vehicles on private property was a big issue and a push several years ago. And most recently, we've looked at how we can streamline the perpetual violators of overgrown grass and weeds, and made some really significant strides on that this summer. as a result of a couple of things that have come before the council, the community and council have requested that we look a little bit harder at property maintenance issues and enforcement of regulations that are currently on the books, and how do we go about kind of pulling all those issues together. So a work group was set up, and we've been meeting since October, and we've looked at a lot of different things. Probably the most comprehensive thing that we did is we actually conducted an inventory of properties within the community. We did a sample inventory, which is outlined in the overview, and we found some interesting things, and I'll address those in a minute. The other thing that we looked at is we looked at our current staffing and what we were actually inspecting and who was doing it. And we looked at the eye for how could we reorganize or maybe reallocate some of those folks to do a little bit more comprehensive review and actually include some of the, what we call the FOG, the fats, oils, and grease, which is a major initiative that we've got to solve for our sanitary sewer issue. So I'm actually going to start on the back page on your flow sheet. This is kind of comprehensively what we've come up with. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, this is kind of where we're at and what we'd like to add on to it. We do a series of inspections now. Steve is the building inspector on the residential side, has been doing a good job with the dangerous buildings to the extent that we do a lot of the paperwork, and he does that, looking up ownership and so forth, and it takes quite a little bit of time. So we'd like to focus, as you see, we've added in a staff member. We've added in a coordinator on a part-time basis. And I say on there that we could probably accelerate some of our dangerous buildings if we can keep Steve focused on more of the reviews of the actual building and identifying and following through with that, and take some of the burden of the paperwork from him to concentrate on that. In addition, we are proposing that we beef up our exterior property maintenance review. And as you've read in the overview, what we'd like to do is kind of work on two different realms. We'd like to phase the program in. We can't possibly do every house in Boonville. We can't focus on everything. So we need a little bit of your help to define how do we do it. Do we focus on one ward at a time? So over a 3 to 4 year period, we can get the wards done. We also know that we've got to focus on some of the worst properties. We get complaints, there are issues, there are safety and health issues that we know we need to focus on. And we would intend to identify that through a citywide inventory. Our sample inventory was really quite revealing to us. It helped us understand what the extent of the problems were in Boonville. And so we think that probably a citywide inventory will help us identify those top 40, top 50, whatever the number is of properties throughout the city that we probably need to focus on, as well as over a period of time taking a look at all of our properties and working with folks to bring the properties up. That's on a residential basis. We also learned through the sample inventory that we just can't focus on residential. We also need to focus on commercial, schools, churches, nursing homes, industrial areas. And so we found this opportunity working through the fire department. The fire safety program is evaluated, those types of buildings are looked at on an annual basis, and we felt that by capitalizing on that staffing and some education of our firefighters and the fire department, that we could probably add, with not too much a disturbance on their part, the exterior property maintenance, as well as the fats, oils, and grease program. Obviously, that's predicated on the fact that they have some assistance from an administrative review. So literally, when Steve or the firefighters or whoever is going out and doing this, here's your workload today, this is what you need to inspect, and let somebody else kind of do the background of keying it in, making sure ownership's done, notifications are out, and all those kind of things. The fire department will require some education. The FOG program you would think would be pretty simple, but it's not. It has quite a few components, and we will need to get ourselves up to speed with that. The health inspector is still a important part of this. The weeds, debris, derelict cars, and so forth will continue on through the health inspector program. And again, making that person more efficient by having a administrative person to kind of support. And we've kind of tested that concept. Frankly, we've imposed on Kate, and she's been very good to work with. She's gotten that program kind of shifted into high gear so we could really be much more efficient and keep the folks mowing and out there reviewing, and she's kind of followed up with the paperwork. And so that's a model that we felt was really quite good. The other issue that came up through a variety of different conversations and has come before the City Council is with the rental properties. And when we did the sample inventory, and as I stated in the overview, there were probably a few more rental properties than owner-occupied properties that had some exterior maintenance, but it wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't to the point that we thought we should have a separate program for it. And frankly, from what we understood, part of the problem was that we needed more of an educational system, and we needed a system where the landlords and the tenants could understand what the codes were, what the understanding were, not only for the exterior, but also for the interior, for health and safety kind of reasons. So through the process that we went through, we've actually developed a rental property self-inspection format. And we're hoping that kind of starting off with a dialogue with the landlords, working through that, giving them the opportunity to kind of have some input into that inspection form, and actually doing some educational forums to bring them up to speed. We'll see how it goes, and I think we've put some backstops into that through some verification. Hopefully that we'd like to start what we call the A+ list. We'd like to have some properties out there that people are proud enough to say, hey, here it is, come and look, verify my inspection, and we'll put it out on the website, or we'll create some kind of opportunity. We want to be proud of the rental properties, because we all know we do have good rental properties in Boonville. We do have some that need some work. We also have the backstop, and we can't forget this, that we do have a complaint system. And I think probably we need to enhance that a little bit. We have folks that may feel timid, they may not feel like they have the opportunity to complain, or may not know who to complain to. So we'd like to encourage people that have issues or have observed concerns. We also would like to institute a hotline so that they can contact the city, so we can put them on that list. We can look at those properties and work with the property owners to improve. That's kind of the overview of where we're interested in highlighting. If we can kind of get those pieces together, it doesn't take much. We have all the baseline codes in place. We need to define some of the individual responsibilities, make sure that our ordinances define who the authority levels are to do certain things. So that would be relatively easy to make those changes with an ordinance. Like I said, majority of this is predicated on the fact that we have some kind of additional part-time person to help with the filing, the computer system, the research, the notifications, to keep the people that are out there inspecting on the technical side, to kind of keep them moving along. And frankly, we know that what makes this program good is when people understand that we are consistent and that we will follow through. So that's really an integral part of what we do. The rest of the flow sheet kind of shows how we go through the correction process. We have all of those pieces in place. We have met with Brad Wooldridge, the city prosecutor. He feels comfortable with how we're working, and he's actually tested the waters on some of these issues on an individual basis. So that piece is in place, and we'll have to see how that goes if we actually have something go through to a city prosecution through to the judge, the city municipal court. So I do want to highlight a couple things on page 1. For your constituents, I know you all have probably got more knowledge of how the derelict houses and the property maintenance issues, how that affects the city. And we've tried to outline some of those on page 1 as to why now, what are the benefits to the community, and I think those are all fairly well articulated here, and I don't really need to go into them. The funding source, we're hoping that one of the things that you all have been told about, and it's kind of something from the wastewater permit issue, we are mandated as a city through our wastewater treatment plant to have a program where you make sure that the waste coming into that plant are at a level where they're efficiently treated. And one of the problems that we have required to put in place is an effective fats, oils, and grease interception program. And the only way we know to do that, and the only way you can do it in a community like Boonville, is to actually do inspections. So you go out and you work through those with generators of fats, oils, and grease, and that tends to be your restaurants, hospital, schools, people that are cooking a large amount of food on a daily basis. And for some programs, some of the commercial folks that we've talked with in the past, they have very well documented programs, things are working great, all the way down to maybe a restaurant who may have a new manager and may not know on all the components. So we've got quite a bit of things to do there, but the funding source of that we're hoping to have actually through a fund transfer that supports the sanitary sewer fund to pay for that process and support that part-time individual. On the second page, the only other comment that I'm going to talk about is the vacant properties. Like I said, we really didn't see all that much of a discrepancy with rental properties versus owner-occupied, but from the numbers that you see, there does seem to be some need to look at vacant properties. So we believe that we're going to continue with our dangerous building process, and I think that we'll probably may be able to bring a few more of those per year through the council for review. But I think we also need to look at those vacant properties just like any other property in the city and apply those exterior maintenance kind of standards and take those through the process and see what we can do. That's something that we may need to look at over time and refine our approach, but I think at least on a baseline that we should look at those like we look at anything else. We would like to do a phased-in procedure. We can't look at every property throughout the town. There's just too many probably to do that. Plus, we probably need some time to get our system fine-tuned. We thought maybe one ward per year would be a way to do it. You all might have some other ideas on that, or to pick which ward goes first.
Draws.
I think the only other thing that I'd like to make a comment on is on page 5 of your packet. We did kind of bat around some ideas. We didn't come up with anything real specific, but there were some folks on our work group that kind of felt that this is probably a fairly important piece of our community, has some long-term implications, and I think that people have got to understand that there may be some homeowners, there may be some businesses that are going to put in some major improvements to make this happen. So there might be an opportunity to come up with some or devise some kind of incentive program to maybe get some buy-in from, there are some businesses probably that will add staff or enhance their revenue because they're helping this initiative. They might be interested in being a private stakeholder and financing some of this, maybe an incentive program. So we put something in there just kind of for you all to think about or look at. As we've come to understand many times, a homeowner who is interested in doing the kind of improvements that we probably see necessary, may not have the money to do it, may need a gap filler, may not have the opportunity to get a loan from a bank kind of thing. So there might be some opportunities there, either through the council or possibly the IDA or MFA or some other way to fund it. But I think we wanted to at least bring that as a possibility to the council to talk about possibly setting up some kind of incentive program to maybe provide a little bit of positive reinforcement. I know it's a lot to absorb, and what is it that we're actually asking you to do? I came up with a possible motion that you all might want to kind of think about, or if you need some extra time to kind of...
For that direction. I already have.
So if you think that we've hit the mark, if you think the work group and the city staff have kind of got the right components or the focus, these are the things that we really need some authority to proceed with. Probably in the January through June timeframe. Some of the stuff can be done relatively quickly. Some of the items, we're going to need some time and obviously bring back some items for your consideration.
I'll make the motion, Megan. Do I need to read all the points?
I think that'd be helpful for the
Okay,
folks
I
at
make a
home.
motion that we authorize them to move forward with implementation. Obviously, we know there's going to be some tweaking and changes along the way in the January to June timeframe, including update a few areas of city code on assigned personnel and their authority, determine phasing by ward or another way, hold public forums to educate property owners, hire part-time staff member, upgrade computer system, complete citywide inventory, continue working with landlords to finalize forms and conduct educational sessions, finalize fat, oil, and grease inspections.
Second.
Excuse me.
We can't discuss without a second, can we?
He
We
raised
can't.
his hand.
Since I'm on that committee, I would like to second that. Thank you, Mr. Reed.
He raised his
Then
hand.
you got
yeah,
it,
he
sir.
raised his hand.
Thank you, Mayor.
We had it planned, Ned.
You did, you did.
Could you tell?
I should have known.
Well, she asked us.
Okay, discussion. Now's discussion. Noah.
Yeah, on the, on some of these points, 1 through 8, the point I'd like to make about number 2, determining the phasing. I like the ward idea. Obviously, I think we should start with Ward 1 and 2 just simply because they're the older 2 wards. You're probably going to have a majority of the issues found in those. Not that we won't find things in 3 and 4, but I think that the aging housing stock in those 2 areas, I think that makes sense. But also with the caveat to know that if you didn't quite understand what Megan was saying, even if we do by phase, we're also going to immediately go out and do all 4 wards and find the worst of the worst to start getting those in the system first. Okay. Hold public forums is great, so the public can come and give input. Hire part-time staff member, which is going to do the administrative side. Upgrade the computer system wasn't a major deal. I know that sounds, like it could be a money pit, but I think our conversation was it was really just updating the system to be able to handle the influx of the new program that we're going to implement here. We're not redoing all the city computers. It's just one system that's for this program. Complete citywide inventory, continue working. Yeah, okay, that's all. That's all I got.
Other comments?
This is just really great work.
It is very good.
This is exciting. I do think down the road, Megan, one of the things, and you and I have talked about this, but we're probably going to have to look at the repo situation because the homes don't get taken care of. They don't get winterized. They don't get, when they get repoed. That's not something that we can address at this point because we can't get into some of those. But this really is really good work. Nice going. All looking good.
Any other comments? The one thing, it is a huge project. We've got a lot of huge projects going on right now. So I think we need to be careful that we don't overburden our staff. And while I understand Ward 1 and 2, I would tend to just single one out.
No, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean both at once. I just meant
1 or 2.
start
Okay,
with
I thought
1
you
and
meant
2
1 and
before.
2.
Right. No, not 2 at once. Because yes, that's
Start
I
with
think we,
1 and start on Spring Street next to my house. Across the street from Steve.
We have no preference.
Yeah, that is
We
Steve's
don't
house.
have
That is
any
Steve's house.
preference. There's a blue house that needs to be looked at, Steve.
Yeah, I tore down one blue house in the neighborhood, they're still on there.
Any other discussion on this or questions before we vote on this? Roll call.
Ayers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor, Mayor,
Yes.
just something about this whole process. I just wanted to really say how pleased I was with I know the creation of where we are, what got us to this point, I should say. I believe personally, it's my own personal opinion, I think that the council was probably fragmented and maybe even opposite sides on this subject, and yet tonight's vote was 8-0, and I think that's a testament of the process that the city staff went through and that you did by creating the committee and of course all the hard work that went into it. So I just want to say thanks, because I think this is proof that even when we start a project or a subject or a topic like this and we're so fragmented and so splintered on the subject, in a very short time we were able to have an 8-0 vote on the end result. So just want to say thank you to staff. Very good job.
They did. Okay. Anything else on that subject? Police Board, Ned.
I was unable to attend the meeting. The minutes are in there. I'm really pleased that we're moving forward with the body-worn cameras. That's just an awesome improvement.
And it looks like those are they'll be purchased after January the 1 per the grant guidelines, so that's good.
I had a
Henry?
question on the amount. Why is there so many when we don't have that many police?
Body
Cameras. What do you?
We have one drug task force, 20 full-time officers. Usually technical issue.
Okay.
And the reason being is, we looked at maybe rotating them. I didn't think that was a great idea because one gets tore up, we know we know what happens to it. If it gets lost, we know what it is. But we want everybody to have one available, and that's what they recommend. The detectives won't be using it all the time, but they will use it as needed, but they need one available.
Okay. Any other questions? Historic Preservation Commission, Kate? Oh, Kate, well, Kari.
No, Kate, take the floor. I wasn't able to attend.
I had a question.
Yes.
Who's Rebecca? That helped. I mean, she was mentioned twice in here, but I have no clue
Just
who
by
she was.
Rebecca, yeah.
Thanks, Kate.
Reports of city officials, city administrator, Earl?
Yeah, I just want to draw the council's attention that the 5-year anniversary of the CIP sales tax is coming around in 2015, which means it needs to be revoted, and we'll have an ordinance calling election at the next meeting to start that process, and I think Tim is going to work some on trying to get a little campaign committee together. It's an important piece of our financial picture, and we've always had good success with it, but we can't take it for granted either, so.
Did we end up deciding which time, which election?
We're doing it in April.
Going to do it in April.
Okay. Anything else?
So anybody who would like to lend a hand to that, we can use your support.
The mayor, I have nothing except to wish everybody a happy holiday and a happy new year. This is our last meeting of 2014, so we'll be seeing everybody in January, so have a happy holiday. City councilor?
Nothing further this evening.
Okay. Economic development, Jim is not on the rotation to give a presentation, but I would like to remind everyone that his contract expires and will be up for renewal in January. And I believe Megan has initiated some discussion with the county about re-upping that, and it was a 1-year contract this past year and possibly extending it to a 2-year. I don't know if anybody
Good idea.
has any problems with that.
Fast year.
A year does go very quickly. So we'll be proceeding with that unless we hear differently from anyone, so. City Clerk, Mary? Did you want, this is not your last meeting, is it?
No, it is not.
Okay. I want to make that clear.
I just wanted to remind everyone that the filing period does, for the April 7th election, does open tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and will remain open through Tuesday, January 20th. Filing hours tomorrow will be 8 to 5, and thereafter they will be 8:30 to 5. The 4 seats on my right here, with Ward 1, Steve Young, Ward 2, Noah Heaton, Ward 3, Becky Ehlers, and Ward 4, Morris Carter, and our city attorney, Brad Wilridge, will be up for the election. And one other thing, on Friday, December 12th, the following city employees volunteered an hour of their time to ring the bell to benefit our community through the Salvation Army. Our 2014 bell ringers were Mark Strange, Bill Sterling, Cheryl Imhoff, Teresa Studley, Barbara Nell, Karen McNeely, Carrie Shipman, Patrick Ziegelbin, Jeff Allrath, Russell Gerling, Guy Kaiser, Jesse Curran, Mark Weibel, Katie Gibson, Kate Fiel, Sherry Broyles, John Kaiser, and myself. And I want to offer my thanks to all of them.
Here, here.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. Thank you for organizing that, Mary.
And although not official duty of the city, is that going to be handed off as well? You're going to run the bell ringers next year? Or maybe,
All right.
maybe Mary come out of
Get that in the
retirement and
minutes,
still
Mary.
run it.
Put that in the minutes.
Talk to him.
No pressure between you two now.
Okay, anything else, Mary?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Miscellaneous, do we have any miscellaneous this evening? What about the BSL ordinance? Do you want to take the things that you've been given home and look at those and get some feedback from the community? How do you want to proceed with that?
How long has that been a law here in town?
A
Has it been a long time?
Mm-hmm. A long time. I don't know. It was before I was on the council.
Yeah, I made a note while it was going on to maybe just tell us what we have to do to repeal an ordinance. Kind of let us know. I don't think this is something we want to make an immediate answer on.
Oh, no, I wasn't asking for
What
an
is the
answer.
process?
Right.
If that's okay.
They'll bring, the staff will bring that back to the next meeting. But no, I
Good
never
idea.
want
Right.
a decision to be made immediately. I always want you to go out and get your constituents' feedback on this. So we heard from the folks who are in favor of it, but perhaps there are some who aren't in favor of it, and we need to listen to them also. Okay, any other miscellaneous? If not, I would hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Lord have mercy. My dog's been home all day.
One right here.
Sorry, Seth.